The new year always comes along with a set of expectations and this feeling like you need to have it all together, that you should be trialing new habits, setting new goals, and trying to live the best version of yourself. But when I was planning this video, I was thinking about the habits that have made the biggest difference in my life and that I think truly make somebody unstoppable. Now, when I say unstoppable, and when I'm thinking about the habits that are incorporated in this video, I'm talking about somebody who is resilient, who is adaptable, who has the tools, the systems, and the support for themselves that makes it so that way they can live their best life. It's not about a 5 a.m. wake up. It's not about having the perfect routine, having the perfect journal, or going to the gym every single day. This is going to be a slightly different habits video. And what I want us to focus on are the foundational pieces of our routines, of our habits that genuinely make us resilient. And this comes down to the basic needs that we have as human beings, but it also comes down to you. One thing that I have really learned over the past couple of years, and with making content about productivity and living your best life and trying to figure out systems and ways to live an enriching existence, what I have found is that you have to follow your own compass. And you have to think about the patterns, the tendencies, the rituals that work best for you. And so today I'm going to give you some frameworks to begin thinking about how it is that you can adapt your lifestyle to incorporate a few habits that allow you to adjust as needed, that allow for personability and adaptability, that allows you to consider if you are somebody who is neurodivergent, or if you are somebody who struggles with energy and has physical fatigue, potentially experiencing chronic pain or illness. All of these things contribute to our ability to adapt to new habits. So I'm bringing it back to the basics. We are not talking about 5 a.m. morning routines. We are not talking about a perfect exercise regimen. We are talking about the habits that make us unstoppable. So let's go ahead and get on into it. The first might sound quite simple, but actually prioritizing 8 hours of sleep. Now, there's a lot of science backing how it is that we sleep. Thinking about how it is that we set our circadian rhythms and how it is that we sleep best. But this varies. I personally am somebody who struggles with anxiety, and the way that it manifests tends to be waking up at like 2 to 3 in the morning and feeling highly anxious. The reason I say prioritize sleep, and I'm leaving that a little bit open-ended, is because I want us to think about our patterns as people that need sleep. So this isn't about needing to go to bed at 9 p.m. This isn't about adjusting your bedtime. It's just about carving out the amount of time that you need in order to rest properly. You know, the recommendation is like 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. But for example, my roommate Chloe, back when we were in college, really struggled with sleep and needed more hours of sleep. She needed to get about 10 hours. And there were times in my life where I could work off of less. But it's about figuring out what your ideal sleep pattern is. And if you're somebody like me that struggles with anxiety, then I encourage you to think about the patterns of your sleep cycle. When you get into bed, what is it that you do? What is it that helps you unwind? What are the things that potentially trigger you feeling more awake versus feeling more sleepy? Ultimately, this video really comes down to having a recognition and an intention, if you will, behind all of your different patterns and rituals and habits. So I want you to think about your sleep schedule and what it is that you can do to improve your sleep in 2025. It is the foundation of our fundamental needs as humans. So making sure that we get enough sleep and that we are finding the patterns that make it so that we are getting better sleep is one of the habits that I recommend taking on this year. The second habit is changing dead time into recharge time. One of the things we often do when we're between meetings or we're getting on the underground or the subway in order to get to our destination, this dead time is often spent scrolling on our phones. This activity, while it seems to offer that reprieve and that little hit of dopamine, it actually doesn't help you recharge. And so what I encourage you to do is think about the activities that do help you to recharge, that really allow that space for your brain and your body to breathe and to take a little bit of time to reset your battery. Now, it's not going to be the thing that completely recharges your batteries to 100, but it's the thing that just helps you go a little bit further. And this is going to look different for everyone. For me, for example, I do find that if I take the time to read, or if I take the time to stretch, or if I take the time to lay horizontal on the ground to relieve my spine, because I'm somebody that suffers with chronic back pain, all of these things help reset, that just give me a moment of reprieve. And I often find in those moments in between, when I am scrolling or when I'm tempted to scroll, it's also based on a feeling of anxiousness or apprehension. And that's where I've started actually switching between using social media while I'm on my phone, waiting for a flight, waiting for the subway, whatever it may be, to doing a guided meditation or a breathing exercise. Now, I'm somebody who thought that you basically had to set a time, that you went and meditated, and it had to be this perfectly calculated practice. But for the past couple of months, I've been using Aura, and Aura just so happens to be the sponsor of today's video, but it is also an app that I've been using for a really long time in order to offer some exercises for reducing stress, for helping with sleep, and for working through certain limiting beliefs or things that are going on in my mind that I just feel like have so much control over my emotions. And recently I was actually waiting for a flight from Hong Kong back to London, and I was just walking through the airport, waiting for my gate to be called, and was just feeling tense. It wasn't about the flight. It wasn't about anything in particular. I was just thinking of all the things that I need to do, as so many of us often do. My brain was just going a mile a minute, and I just felt like I couldn't control it. So I decided to do something a little bit different. So instead of just scrolling on my phone, I went to the Aura app, and I actually found a cognitive behavioral therapy session that was all about going through the what ifs and finding ways to combat that anxiety. It was so helpful because even though I wasn't, sitting in my living room in this perfect setting, this perfect practice, having this calm, just soothing presence of the instructor and the music and all these things just really helped me quiet my inner voice. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to partner with Aura on this video, because it's not just a meditation app. It's like a playlist app, but for your mental health. There are CBT exercises, there are meditations, there are also exercises for preparing for sleep. There are breathwork exercises. They also have a series of playlists and also challenges in order to work through things like burnout or stress management. And you can also create your own playlists. So if you find an exercise or if you find a recording that is really resonant with you and that you really want to return to in the future, you can also add it to a playlist. So as you can see here, I have two playlists, which are the most commonly used, which is I Can't Sleep and Feeling Anxious, which I feel like is pretty indicative of the things that I tend to lean on Aura for. It's so much more than just a meditation app. So if you're like me and you're looking for a platform to help reduce anxiety or work through some of the beliefs and the ideas that are mulling about in your head, then go ahead and check out Aura. There's going to be a special link in the description. And I just want to say thank you to the Aura team for reaching out. I cannot think of an application that is more well suited to my content. It's an app that I've used for months and I highly recommend it. So go ahead, give it a free trial, check out the link, and see if Aura can help you become unstoppable in 2025. The third habit that we're going to cultivate in 2025 is finding movement that you genuinely enjoy. I really struggled to find exercises that I really enjoyed for the sake of it, because when I was an athlete, everything I did was essentially in service of the sport and in service of the horses I was working with. But over the past 2 or 3 years, I've really discovered the types of workouts that I enjoy, and part of that is experimentation. But I'm not just talking about exercise, because I know that some of us, we don't exist in bodies that make that entirely feasible. And sometimes exercise is actually really painful. So I want us to think about types of movement that are helpful to us. And that can just be, you know, a stretch of the neck, or finding some stretches that you can do throughout the day that relieve you of pain. One of the reasons I got back into working out regularly again and getting into yoga was because I found that it made the biggest impact on my back health. I had a traumatic riding accident when I was 14, and I really hurt my back, and my back has never quite been the same since then. I have scoliosis, and basically from the mid back up, I just have a lot of tension. I've done osteo, I've done acupuncture, I've done everything, but nothing makes as big a difference as finding movement that helps just kind of stretch things out. And so it doesn't have to be yoga. It doesn't have to be going to a gym. It doesn't have to be doing some really big aerobic exercise. But I encourage you to have a habit of finding movement where and when you can. Habit number 4 is actually prioritizing community and texting your friends. Now, this is a change that's recent, but I only a couple of days ago left Instagram. What I have found in having left the app is that there was so much that I relied on social media to have passive knowledge of what my friends were up to, that I just took for granted seeing their little story bubble and checking in, that I knew generally what they were up to. And so I wouldn't text them, I wouldn't check in, I wouldn't have those opportunities to have a call, because I would just think, well, you know, they know what I'm up to, and I generally know what they're up to. But since leaving Instagram, I was chatting with my sister, and I got a text message from my sister with a photo of my nephew and her horse. Now, that's not to say that she wouldn't send me those things before, but it just feels more conscious. And I sent her a picture of Moo, and we had a little text exchange. And it's not about having a big conversation, but by removing that passive engagement with my friends, I was reminded of the importance of reaching out and having that community and really, you know, committing the effort. And it's something that I encourage you to try as well. I know we're all busy. I know that there's so much going on, but maybe give it a shot. Just 1 week. Just give it 1 week where you close all of your social media apps, take it off of your phone, and try communicating with your people by text message. If I've learned anything over the past year, it's just how important friendships are and how important community is. And so with that, just a quick reminder to text your friends. And now for the 5th and final habit. And this is the thing that I have found moves the needle the most when you are somebody who is trying to ambitiously conquer a goal. And that is to do a weekly reset. So often we go and we set these goals for the year or for the month, and we don't check in on it. We don't actually think consciously of the progress that we've made. We don't have that sit down presence of mind, that intentional check-in. And so what I encourage you to do is create a habit of a weekly reset. It doesn't have to be more than 5 minutes, but I want you to just find that time in your week to, at the very minimum, look at the goals that you've set for yourself, check in, ask yourself, what progress have I made? Am I living in alignment with these goals? Am I taking actions that show that these goals are a priority? And third, ask whether that goal is actually the right thing to be chasing. So often we set these really big, lofty goals at the beginning of the year. And what I really appreciate about having that weekly reset pattern is that you can check in and you can ask the question, is this actually right for me? And so with that, I'm just going to go ahead and end the video. Be gentle with yourself, friends. Think about the patterns and just take that intentional time with yourself to really think about your sleep, about what you're doing to recharge, about movement, about reaching out to friends, and lastly, taking that time for yourself to intentionally check in. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you to Aura for sponsoring today's video. If you are interested in checking out Aura for yourself and looking at all of the different options that they have in terms of meditation, breath work, CBT exercises, and also looking at all the various playlists that they have available, then I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the description below. Thank you to Aura's team for sponsoring this one, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks, friends. See you soon.